What's the secret of change? We don't fight the old. Instead, we focus on building the new. Welcome to the Table of Change. Come on in and have a seat at our table.
It's another Tuesday night. We are back. We are on Table of Change, and I am always so excited. It comes deep from the soul. Table of Change, we're here to make a difference, and that is what we're going to do. Come and sit at the table. This is not my show. This is not Tamara's show. This is our show, Bahamas. Come on, let's talk about it. Tamara.
You know, Jackie, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the show. I'm feeling Christmas. I've already started cleaning the boxing. I've already took the screens out and dust them down. So I have December in the air. A Table of Change is going to have so many issues for December. Are you getting ready for Christmas, Jackie?
I am always ready every day.
What's your favorite part about Christmas?
Christ.
Exactly. The reason for the season, right?
That's right.
Tonight, guys, we want you to, take a deep breath, relax, take in what we're bringing onto the table tonight. But also remember, you're going to call in. When you call in tonight, you're going to call in at 325-5403. Or you're going to call in at 300-8255. And to sponsor Table of Change, you're going to call 449-9106. But Jackie, and all the talking, we're talking about Christmas and what's happening, and I'm hearing the cowbells and I'm feeling the jungle beat, Jackie.
I got it. It's in our soul, Tamara. It's here already. Can you see me?
Well, I'm a born Saxon. Saxons are nothing. But anyway, that's a different show for another day. But tonight, Jackie and I wanted to bring someone in to help us talk about this topic. And the topic was just so fresh in our minds in terms of election and what's happening with the U.S. election that happened the other week. So tonight, we said, who would be better to talk to about this topic? And in thinking, we realized, we got the perfect person. So tonight, we have a Cat Island man inside the house. Ooh. He grew up off Minnie Street. He attended the Bahamas Government High School. I did say the Bahamas Government High School. He's an educated man. He was among the first graduating class of COB. He holds a diploma in engineering, associate's degree in physics and chemistry, a bachelor's of chemical engineering, a master's of business and administration. He is an entrepreneur. He is executive chairman of AFS Insurance Agents and Brokers. He is a community activist, a proud member of Toastmasters Club 1600. He's also played big roles in politics, from PLP, CDR, and DNA. He's a married man, a father, a man of standing in our community. It gives me so much pleasure to have him in here today. He's a man that holds politics dear to his heart. His hobbies include sports, talking with friends from GHS class of 75, and COB, and family. Tonight, in studio, we bring to the Table of Change, the one, the only, Mr. Ethric Bowe.
The one and only, Mr. Bowe.
I don't recognize that, man. That was so shining. That was so uplifting. Thank you very much.
Remind you who you are, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
But we and Jackie and I, we were talking and getting so excited about the elections. And the topic that we're bringing to the table tonight with Ethric Bowe is the election. But we want to start with the U.S. election. And we wanted to get an idea in terms of you being an economist and knowing in terms of the environment and the political field for the Bahamas. What does it mean, Mr. Bowe? Because we get caught up in the Republicans and the Democratic Party and we watch the elections. But what does it mean for the Bahamas in terms of who wins the election? How does it impact us in our community?
Well, if we do the future, then the outcome would be different for the U.S. election. The beauty of life is we don't know the future, and most of what we foresee, most of what we predict, turns out to be incorrect. So, we could go down that road. Really, I tell people what we may get from the change in the U.S. is a lot different than we expect. The designs that are on the table, it is very unlikely that they will come to fruition. Some of the people that you thought would be most very terrible for the United States and the world, like Richard Nixon, turned out to be positive things. You got legislation that positively affected black people in America from under Richard Nixon. If you looked at the way he ran his election, you would never have thought that he was going to do those kind of things. I see the same thing with Donald Trump. When reality sets in, when the forces that are bigger than all of us come into play, the outcome could be very different. When you see the results of things you attempt to do, he may have to change direction, we hope. And so we just don't know what the future holds. If it goes the way that he seems to be trying to design things, it could be disastrous for the entire world, not just the Bahamas, because we are so tied to the U.S. I always tell people that the Bahamas is just deep South Dade. So we've got to look at what's going on, and in the Bahamas, which we always should do, we need to do like the other sovereign nations and look out for our own best interests all the time. Mentioning sovereignty, we've got to remember that we are a sovereign nation, as the U.S. is a sovereign nation. I look at the things they're talking about, the tariffs and all these kind of things, and I wonder what is happening with WTO. We don't talk about WTO much these days, but where are we going with WTO now with the new attitude from America? What I worry about is what's going to happen to Ukraine. We don't talk about Ukraine much in the Bahamas, but I think what happens in Ukraine will impact the world powerfully. So there are a lot of things to consider. And in all that we're doing, we have to remember that we have no way of telling what the future holds. What I do think, though, is that each and every one of us, each and every single one of us, we need to make a contribution for the good. And that will probably more than anything else determine the outcome. Because just like in a free and fair election, you have one vote. In this life, you have one life, and that's yours, and you've got to live that. So everything starts really and ends with you. And so if we can all contribute a little bit to the good, we should turn out okay. I have no good reason to be hopeful. Like my friend over here told me earlier today, you gotta have hope. I am moving on faith. I don't know how it's gonna turn out well, but I'm gonna move on faith and try to help make positive things happen in the world and in the Bahamas.
You actually are on the right road with the faith walk. But just before we go any further, WTO for our listening audience, because we have a lot of people listening, and just so everybody would be on one page, can you just let us know what WTO stands for?
WTO stands for the World Trade Organization, and it's a way for countries in the world to organize trade amongst the countries to make it, I don't even know how to say free and fair, because when you look at the situation in different countries, it's hard for it to be free and fair, because if I'm a gazillionaire and you're a pauper, anything that we get into where we have to compete straight up is not free nor fair. So I think at some point we're going to have to look at economics a lot differently because the current world order cannot persist. And really, it's for my way of thinking, it's a matter of how we can resolve the tensions between the super rich, the normal, and the poor, how we can resolve these things without extreme violence. You see, so that is something we've got to look at carefully.
Listening guests, can you please just turn off your mics? Those of you who are on Zoom, we just love having you, but we just want everybody to be able to hear. And Tamara, I know that you have a question.
Yes. I just had to ask Mr. Bowe, in terms of this election in the U.S., in terms of Donald, in terms of Harris, I can't remember a time, and watching the elections, that so many moral issues was on the table. And this might just be my humble opinion. It kind of felt like good versus evil, or in terms of the characters, in terms of who we were voting for. How do you now? I know we're not going to agree with 100% of legislation or what is being said by one candidate or what is being said by the other candidate, but can you remember a time where there was so many moral issues on the table?
There are always moral issues on the table. The difference now is that we know about more of them. And that's the case that, everything gets brought into the light. So we have the same kind of moral issues that we've always had. The more we change, the more we remain the same. And as bad as we think, and I do as well, as bad as we think Donald Trump is, we have to remember God's practices, He always picks the most unlikely person to carry out his will. And whatever happens, I've learned to say God's will be done. There's a reason why we're going through whatever we're going to be going through. And
we do apologize. We do apologize. Host, please turn the microphones off. And those listening, please turn the microphones off. Go ahead, Mr. Bowe.
Yeah, and it's up to us, no matter what we are faced with, no matter what crises we encounter, it's up to us to put a spin on that crisis and find an opportunity in it. And my partner here will tell you, nearly every day I walk on, I look onto the street and I say, boy, we got to figure out a way to make money from these bad roads. And we keep looking at it and trying to see the opportunity in the adversity. And that's it. Otherwise, you're going to get stressed out.
Well, the bad roads, for me, I was a craven driver about 6 months ago. And I have seen, I think you remember, you were on my group when I sent it. I have seen some improvement in the bad road. I mean, I've seen a lot, but I still fell in a hole by checkers. I think my car got damaged. And so I think for us as citizens, we really need to find out which number do we call to let them know where the holes are, and we have to be on them. We have a part to play in this as well. Let's if someone can call us and let us know the numbers that we call to let you know that there's a hole, because I'm sure something happened to my car, and so help us with that, please.
I just spent over $6,000 in repairs to vehicles because of road-related damage, and we have to be careful because. While there is no good excuse that I can see for the state of the roads in the Bahamas, the us and them thing doesn't work because there's no us and them, there's only us. There is only us. And I repeat now, my real life slogan is, we are all friends and family, especially in the Bahamas.
It's only us.
We are all friends and family. So if you're my friend, I should be able to lobby with you. Most of us know the Prime Minister, not to say hi or recognize him on TV. Yeah. We know him personally. He sees you, he'll call you by name, you call him by name. Right. The Commissioner of Police, we were at his party the other night. We know one another. We are literally related.
Yes.
And so my thing always is, let's act like we're related. Let's act like we always want the best for the Bahamas and Bahamians. And if we do that, we will be quite okay. We don't have problems here. We just have opportunities. And we need to direct ourselves at delivering these opportunities to the Bahamian people, because right now it's not being done and we can't explain why. And it's not that you can go out and say, well, change the administration, because again, you're changing from one set of family to another set of family. And you've got to look and say, well, which one of my cousins will deliver good roads to me? And that is literally the case. So it's a tough thing, but again, we have to talk to one another. We have to talk to our family, and we have to be able to disagree or express ourselves fully without having to be malicious or nasty or any kind of thing like that, because we are friends and family.
Yes. Tamara?
I just wanted to bring it to home now. We talked about the U.S. and the election, but if we found ourselves here in the Bahamas faced with having such different views from two different parties, let's say F&M and PLP, how could you help us determine what should we're not going to like 100% of the candidate. I know that. Some people may say there's no longer just voting for party in terms of F&M, PLP, DNA, CDR. How do we now help us try and find the characteristics, or what would you say is the characteristics that would make for us a good prime minister if we found ourselves looking to vote for an individual or an MP?
Well, you need to care. The prime minister needs to care, and it would help if the prime minister loved the Bahamian people. You know, I go back, we really all children of Sir Lyndon Pinling, you know, and one thing you could say about Lyndon Pinling is he loved the Bahamian people. You know, whatever you say about him, he loved the Bahamian people. And he had a plan for us. He had a vision for us. The vision of the Bahamas included us, and we were central to the vision for the Bahamas. So that is key for a leader. Now, we need more than to look for an individual leader, because, you know, when you put all your confidence in man, then you get what you get from human men, right? What we need are philosophies of governance. We need to have systems and methods of doing things. And I keep saying to my friends in government, whoever's in government, they're my friends, I keep saying to them, we need to introduce common sense into governance. Like, we're charging duty on garbage bags, but we're talking about keeping the place clean. We have teeny little countries without the resources we have, that don't have as brilliant leaders as we have. Their leaders are not as educated, not as experienced. But every 200 yards, there's a garbage bin. And in the garbage bin, there's a plastic bag. So people put the garbage in the bins, and then someone comes and collects the garbage. Mm-hmm. So the places are clean. Whenever Bahamians travel somewhere, I am marveled by the way Bahamians are marveling that, wow, this place is so clean. It's not that that place is so clean. It's that we here in the Bahamas, things are so dirty. If you go to any island in the Bahamas and you buy yourself a drink, buy yourself a bottle of water. You drink that bottle of water, and when you finish that water, stop right there and go into the bushes, and you will find all kinds of bottles and cans and that kind of thing. Nearly every island I've been to, and I've been to most of them, I experienced that. And so if you go to Bermuda and you talk about that, or you talk about litter, you know, even the little children say to you in a very forceful way. They don't say, I don't litter. Like if someone talks to me about litter, I'll say, I don't litter. No, in Bermuda they say, Bermudans don't litter. And they say that in a very, very forceful way. And they're not joking at all when they say that. You go to China, you using the urinals, so you're facing the wall. They have a monitor on the wall, and on the monitor, there's little words running across that says, "Good Chinese don't litter." If you're on the bus, the back of the seat of the bus, so you're looking at the screen on the back of the seat in front of you, and it tells you how you ought to behave. So they are deliberately creating the culture that they want. You mentioned that I went to government high school. At government high school, we could not walk on the grass. We had to take the pathway. And, I'm 65 and I still can't walk on the grass. So if you see a group of government high graduates from that day, you'll see them walk in a straight line and all of them will not cross that grass. It's like, that's magic grass.
So, Mr. Bowe, because you said that, what I got is that was a way the students from the government high were trained. And so what's happening to our Bahamas today is because somebody stopped training.
It was beyond training. We were literally brainwashed. You see, you put people in a squad on the defense force or the police force. And, one commits an offense. And then what happens? The whole squad gets punished. So now the whole squad is putting pressure on you. Don't try that again. Because next time they're not going to punish you and us. We are going to intercept you. And we're going to put a stop to you before you start that. So
Right,
you're building a culture then.
So if we have punishment now on paper, that's what's causing the problem. So I'm going to go back tomorrow to your question about the government and how we choose. And I'm thinking, like, the election is in about another 2 years, maybe 1.5, maybe. And I have a different view now on how I'm going to choose. The party that has the majority of stuff that's lining up with the one who we know has full control, that would be the person that I would be voting for. And the thing about it is, what I want to talk to us tonight, Bahamas. When a government is formed and we vote and they're elected and they're a governing party, we are now like the F&M and PLP. I'm thinking that should be no more. As soon as someone is in party, that's time to say, look here, if it's F&M or PLP, that is my governing party. Let's get to work. And then you're going to talk about the MPs that are around the prime minister. I've been looking at myself as a prime minister. We are all prime ministers in our own right. And if we start to think like that, we will all know that we have a job to do. You have the MPs that come around to the different communities. You have some MPs who come around and they don't even go to some people's house. We have to change with that. Voting for persons is MPs what we want now. It's different now. We're looking for more. We're not looking for MPs that are going to say, yes, 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 I'm going to do it for you. A yes, yes, yes MP. Because you cannot say yes for everything. We're looking for people who their word means something. So there's a lot that we have to change.
The change that we need is in us. We need to change. Nothing wrong with the MPs. They represent us, and they are a true reflection of us. The problem isn't them. The problem is us. See, number one, and I have a terrific MP, and I'm lucky because I always get good MPs. I'm really lucky. But what we got to look at is, number one, who's the boss?
We are.
I work for an enterprise. My MP is employed by me. I literally pay their salary. So why is it now that come Christmas, I expect a harm from my MP? See, I'm the boss. I'm the one who's supposed to be giving the harm out. There's one MP and there's about 4,000 of us. If we think the MP did a good job, all of us should give the MP $10 and hey, have this for Christmas. You did a good job. if an MP has to provide a ham to 4,000 people, there's corruption there somewhere. No, very few MPs can afford to do that. And if someone is giving them the ham, who's going to give you all of those hams for no reason? See, our system thrives on corruption because it's flowing from us. Stop looking to your MP for ham. Stop looking to your MP for back-to-school supplies. And at the heart of our problem, which feeds poverty, is lack of production. Productivity. We need to produce. We need to produce sufficient to support ourselves and have some excess. And our productivity issues stem from ignorance, persistent ignorance. We treat knowledge acquisition, we treat learning as though it's a disease, a contagious disease. We avoid learning. I think the Bible speaks to that. A fool is one who avoids knowledge. And we're doing that over and over again. Anytime you have to force people to learn. You want more money? You want a better job? Acquire a skill. You want to not be poor. Let's start with not be poor. Let's not talk about being rich. If you don't want to be poor, what you do is work persistently and don't waste your money. And I guarantee you, 99%, you will not be poor. The other day, the Prime Minister said something about our choices. And then everybody's making a big fuss about he's uncaring and all that. You tell the truth and you're uncaring. But listen, you buy poison every day and you call it food. And then you wonder why you're sick. And it's not just poison, it's expensive poison. If you were making $100 a day and you're spending $22 a day for lunch, and that's just you, how do you expect to make it? That's a choice. Buy some decent food, take it home, and cook it. On Sundays, traditionally Sunday is a day when you get home cooked meal. You go and look at the line at the fast food places, buying poison. Another government tried to take corned beef off the list of bread basket items. People nearly had a fit. Corned beef is nothing but poison. And so the politics demand that you can't be honest with the people, because if you take corned beef off the bread basket list, they're going to vote you out. And since a politician doesn't want to be voted out, they leave corned beef on the bread basket list. But come on, let somebody with sense come and show me why corned beef should be in the bread basket list of bread basket items. We should treat corned beef like cigarettes. Tax the hell out of it.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? What we need is to find a way to get people fish, fresh fish. Subsidize that. We need vegetables grown locally, preferably.
At a lower cost, because I think people go to corned beef because it's probably cheaper. And I don't want to jump over the corned beef. I have a question about the ham. The ham, when the MPs buy the ham, does it come out of their pocket? I just want to, and I never got a ham and yam or turkey.
Yeah, well, in most cases, people are donating those. You know, they go to some very wealthy people and they supply the ham. Most MPs do not have the honest means to pay for that. Because 4,000 hams, add that up.
So they get from other companies, but they get the credit for it. So that's really good to know.
At
least they get the credit for asking.
Yeah, but see, think about that though. If I give you $50,000 worth of ham and I'm a businessman, what are you giving me? What are you doing for me?
Nothing's free. Yeah. Nothing's free. There's always a cost.
I mean, I was just thinking it was coming from the government revenue. Tamara, I know you have a question or comment.
Yes, I got to digress a little bit. Now, I'm not discouraging anyone from making money, But with you being an economist, I looked at something the other day, and it was really alarming to me and for my Bahama land. How do you feel about a certain fast food restaurant that's open over Paradise Island? And let me show you where I'm going with this. I'm thinking, shouldn't we have kept that kind of like Bahamians and locals in terms of now bringing? It's just unsightly to me to see this major fast food in Paradise Island. You have any opinion on that, Mr. Bowe?
Mr. Bowe is not here right now, so I'm going to answer that question. See, anytime you're looking at, I understand what you're saying. I do not disagree with you. My name is Antonio Bullard. But when you open a free society, you got to be very careful. See, anytime you open a free society, I mean, you can't tell me what I can bring here, what I cannot bring here once you don't have zones. And I was involved in a particular party years ago. They don't exist anymore. And I went into the neighborhood, and I live in the U.S. for quite some time. So I know about zoning. And I try to tell them, okay, let's say if we're going to allow a particular restaurant to come into our community, then they need to hire persons within our community. They jump on me, tell me, no. So you see what you're fighting with? When you try to educate individuals, when you went away and learned things and you come back and you try to implement these things, you run into roadblocks. So us being a free society, you can't really say what we can and cannot put there. Now, if you look at Jamaica and some other Caribbean countries, the whole entire country does not allow Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's, McDonald's, and Popeyes. None of those fast food are in that country. Everything is locally grown, or like they have their own chicken and they have their own grilling and stuff like that. So we had an opportunity to do that, but because we live so close to the United States of America, and we have let's say 80 to 95% of all our tourists come from America, we want to please them. So by pleasing them, we allow these fast foods to come in to the country. So I hope I answered your question with that.
You did. You really helped me out with that. Now, Mr. Bowe, you said?
Mr. Bullard.
Mr. Bullard. I'm going to ask you this question. You know, in talking about elections and politics, we got a lot of feedback from different listeners that are saying to us, you know, I'm at the point now in terms of looking at the Bahamas election in terms of they don't even want to vote. Now, I'm from the old school, sir. I believe that there's people that have fought for the right for me to be able to vote. What would you say to someone that says they're thinking about not voting in our election?
Well, I could answer that from different angles, but I'm going to answer it from this one. You need to be educated. And that's one of the key things that we're not doing on both parties, and no party really has educated the Bahamian persons about voting, because if you educate the individual about voting, they wouldn't say what they're saying. See, we've been brainwashed to believe that if it ain't the PLP or it ain't the FNM, and look how long look how long the PLP stayed in power. And because we were afraid that they keep preaching that, if you put them in power, they're going to put you back in slavery. So nobody wants to go back into slavery. You see, so we got to be careful. Educate or educate yourself even on voting. Let's say an individual comes to you and put parties beside. I always tell my friends this, and I'm serious about this. I am a Bahamian, first and foremost. I wasn't born a Christian. I had to become a Christian. I wasn't born a PLP. I had to become a PLP. I wasn't born an FNM. I had to become an FNM. So what I want to do is I want to educate myself about the individual who is coming to run for me. I don't care who it is. I'm going to sit you down in my house, and I do that to every politician. I interview you for this job. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to put some questions to you, and I'm not going to hump you and beat you up. I said, it was nice talking to you. And when you see me at the polls, I shake your hand, and you don't know if I've never, ever worn party colors. I don't. I go and I shake your hand, and I go on my business, and I get my paper, and I mark like everybody else. But I am listening to you. And we got to do one thing, people. To be honest with you, don't let the politician lie to you, because there's only one person who runs this country. The politician don't. The prime minister. Nothing happens unless he okayed it. You could have all the money in the world and live in Cat Island, Long Island, Andros, and if you want to put a hotel up, you can't. You can't. If the prime minister don't okay that, you can't. You see? So we need to educate ourselves on these things. Let's coming here, and I have a problem with this. I mean, me and Bowe talk about this all the time. Lights. Let's look at the Samailabad Highway and going on to that highways. Lights. It's simple as no lights. Okay? We just talk about roads. Me and Mr. Bowe drive through Garden Hills. No, Golden Gates. Right where Golden Gate Church is. One of the side corners I know that didn't need tarring was tarred. But yet the corner on the eastern side of Golden Gate Assembly Church that I ride on coming from his office and my office and going to meetings, the road is terrible. Why was that road through the dead end that not much people ride on? Only but 10 houses through the corner. I can take you right now, newly tarred, but the corner where a lot of us use is not being tarred. That's dumb to me.
Exactly.
I think maybe we have to go to more, or do we attend the community meetings, like when they have it, when they come in to have it? Because if we are there, letting them know as a group, because we are in charge, but we're not in charge individually. We have to come together to be the boss.
You are so right. And what I tell the young people, because at my age now, my focus really is on the young people, what I tell them is this. Number one, get involved. Get involved, because ultimately politics is about how you share the nation's money, the nation's resources, how you divvy it up. And if you're not at the table when they're sharing it, you're going to get left out. So I don't see a need to have two political parties. I don't see a need. It's like the churches, right? You hear the sermon from the preacher, you don't like the sermon, so you leave the church, you go start your own church, right? I've been there, I understand that, I've experienced that. We have to be able to be in a political party, disagree, and you don't have to leave the party or anything like that. Nobody's forcing you, or they just know that on that issue you have a different opinion. Now, why do we need 2 or 3 or 4 political parties? It's not like we have different philosophies. Most Bahamians believe the same thing. So why do we need 4 or 5 political parties? That is just ego pushing people. Everybody wants to be the leader. Everybody wants to be the minister in charge, the preacher calling the shots. And so if we could get beyond that, then what could happen is, we have one political party or no political parties, and people just run in constituencies. Democracy, and the Constitution commands the Bahamas to be a democracy. Democracy requires that if you're going to represent somebody, that you be able to vote for yourself. That's what is required in a democracy. Seldom is that the case in the Bahamas. In a democracy, the government is supposed to flow from of the people, by the people, from the people. So if you're not of the people, how can you represent them? If you're not dropping in those potholes, we have no shared experiences. It's hard for you to empathize with me. You can't feel what I feel. So you cannot properly represent me. So we need to start really by following the requirements of the Constitution and making sure that at all times we have a democracy. And one of the things we need to talk about sometimes is that Constitution that we have there. Because in my view, and I've spoken to some legal minds on this, except many of our legal minds are hesitant to challenge governments. Many of our laws are unlawful because they fly in the face of the Constitution. The test that everything should have to pass when we make a law is how does it relate to the Constitution? Because if it isn't passing the constitutional muster, then it should never become a law. Every MP should be familiar with the Constitution, and we every time they pass a new law, they're making you less free. They don't make a law telling you what you can do. They make laws telling you what you can't do. So your freedom is being stripped away bit by bit by bit.
I think I could agree with that. I think one of the most important things is that we need to wake up. Seriously, we need to wake up from the slumber that we're in. And the majority of us are asleep. And if you fall asleep and you're the captain, it's a problem. If you fall asleep as a bus driver, it's a problem. If you fall asleep as a pilot, landing the plane and taking off, it's a problem. We as Bahamian people, I'm not telling nobody to vote for. That's not my business. My business is to let you know that you need to wake up and say, guess what? Which direction I want my country to go. Me and Mr. Bowe, we travel a lot. We travel a whole lot. And there is a country that I frequently go to. I've been going there for over 20 years, and it's China. I love the place. And they have these signs, like you said, all over the place. And one of the signs that really intrigued me is that we really respect our elderly. We will not mistreat them. And as you walk along the streets, you see this. And it really blew me away that, we as Bahamians, like Mr. Bowe said, we are family. To be honest with you, if we went to 10 funerals, you'd be surprised. I didn't know man, that's my cousin, and we're treating each other like animals. When a family and friends, I can't come by you. I can't go by Mr. Bowe. Mr. Bowe can't come by me because we're going to be sitting out in the front of the yard like how we used to do years ago in Beantown. I grew up in Beantown, on the porch or under the tree. And you're afraid. I had 2 cousins and 2 brothers got killed by sitting in front of the yard playing domino. So what is going on with that? We need to look at this thing. We need to show more love. We need to show more appreciation for one another. We just have no love for one another in this country anymore. And we need to get back to that. I truly believe that.
You are so right about that, because and the thing about it, if we are really just being real about it, we know we're gonna have good and we're gonna have bad. But what we have to do is let's just get out there. We have to keep each other accountable. We have to do more action, and we have to get it done. Tamara, I think you have a Zoom question.
Yes, I have a Zoom question. I'm going to read it exactly how she wrote it, Mr. Bowe, so please humor me. She said, she gets your point with regards to the fast food, but she said she feels that's in theory to heavily tax what is considered to be poison, because when the minimum wage remains what it is and you overprice the affordable food options because you consider them to be garbage, what affordable, healthy alternatives are being made available to supplement for what is taken away? Should I read that again for you?
No, that's good. That's my Toastmasters colleagues wouldn't smile on that if I had to have you read that again.
Impromptu speaking, yes.
That is a terrific question. Very, very good question. But here's the deal. One of the key things that we focus on and we need to focus on in this country. We have to train people to listen and we have to train people to think. See, because in part of taking away the corned beef, I suggested that we subsidize fresh fish and vegetables. All the major countries subsidize agriculture. It just don't happen without subsidy. And here's the deal, with agriculture, it's not about the business. It's not about the money and the business. It is about national health and national security. Now, why would I, as a businessman, be concerned about you getting cheap fish, cheap quality fish? What I need from you as a worker, I need you to be healthy enough to work, and I need you to be healthy enough to come to work reliably, right? Because I need to serve those customers reliably. If you are malnourished, I didn't say if you're hungry, if you are malnourished, if you don't get enough of vitamin B's, you know what? There's a protein called homocysteine. The homocysteine level in your blood goes up, and when it goes beyond a certain point, you cannot even think straight. If you can't think straight, you know what happens? When you get into a discussion with somebody and you can't get your thoughts out, you stab them or you shoot them. Or you're a child in school, you're not getting your vitamins, you go in the classroom, you cannot learn. I've spoken to a number of ministers of education. We can change our grade point average just by adjusting the nutrition. And what we need is perhaps vitamin-infused veggie smoothie nationally. So we take care of the nutrition issue in the education system. This ain't rocket science. I didn't invent this. I'm no genius. I discovered it just like, a lot of people discovered it. I read about it and then I got into it and I found a little bit about it. But we can affect things just by a lot of things we can affect just by the way we eat. You see? So farmers in the country, we need to really invest in farmers and farming. This thing about minimum wage. The other day we increased minimum wage by $50 or so. You know what happened? The whole economy then adjusted. The price of food went up, the price of everything went up. And so the $50 was absorbed in inflation. So now you got $50, but you can buy less than you were able to buy before you got the $50. So you are now poorer, but you have more money.
But I'm hearing you, Mr. Bowe, and I agree with you, but I think I'm going to call her, I'm going to ask a question for you so you can get it clearer. Let her know and let the listeners know what need to happen, who need to do what for the farming to get larger. Because I think we all need to get excited about farming. What break it down more, what need to happen. What we need to fight for, what we need to push for, what we need to go to the meetings and tell the MPs what we need, and tell the government and call our lovely Prime Minister what need to happen. Break it right down so we can understand it.
We need access to land. And here's what we do. We make the Bahamian land available to the Bahamian people. So anybody, and Rodney Monka said this many, many years ago, any Bahamian could go and occupy, very short notice, land that is not being used, 10 acres. You cannot sell that land. You cannot excavate the land because people dig up, a lot of big holes would appear out of nowhere and they would sell that curry, right? You cannot dig up the land without without special permission. Mm-hmm. I almost think that it is. They talk about it's a national resource and stuff like that, but when I see people dig up the land and ship it out of the country, I almost feel like that's treason. You know, you are literally taking up the country and shipping it out. So we need to keep our land. We don't have much of it. Yeah, so we give Bahamians access to the land. You can't sell the land. You can't dig it up. You and your family could live on it. That kind of thing. You can if you live on it and you die, your children can continue to live on it. That kind of thing. So that would change our situation tremendously with access to land. Because in order to farm, you need access to land. Then what we need to do is encourage people to grow things. And we would buy the goods at a certain price, but we need to be able to cause them to be sold at a price that people can afford it. Or we give people coupons or whatever that would allow them to buy and eat good food. So that is a practical approach to the land. Let me just interject here on top of that, because this concept perhaps needs to be extended a little further, and it's the simple acceptance that Bahamians should benefit from the wealth of the Bahamas. Now, people are talking about oil and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going that far. Wealth is being generated right here on the land, and Bahamians should benefit from the wealth that is being generated on the land. If I invest $1 million, and listen, I'm a capitalist. But if I invest $1 million and I get back $8 million on my $1 million investment or reasonable point in time, I can then change the whole economics of that picture. I don't need to get so much back going forward because I've already been paid for my investment. So now we could share things up differently. And that differently, right, maybe I'm not changing your pay, but the profits at the end of the year, instead of me taking all of it, I could share it up more with the producers of the wealth. Communism is not straight out a bad thing. Capitalism is not straight out a good thing. The excesses of capitalism causes communism and violent revolution. And you know, in the Bahamas, that violent revolution right now is expressing it in what we call crime. I look at the things that we do. We build basketball courts with public money. Every park, the first thing we do is throw up a basketball court. And if you look at the shoddy way that we make the pavement, it's not even, you know. You look at most of them, they're not even. And so what do they cause? You're not running and playing on a flat surface, injuries. And I looked at it and I said, this really is an expression of not caring. Because it's not your money you're spending. If you're going to build something for the people, build it properly. I look at Fox Hill. Fox Hill built a community center with a pool in it. With a pool in it. And they're using it, I understand. And then people from all over making fun and making derogatory statements about this. Instead of them saying, oh, that's a good idea. Every Bahamian should be able to swim. We should have one of these in every community. We see, one thing that we express all the time, and that's why it's important that we be family and friends and act that way. Our actions say loudly, we hate one another. See, because if something good happens for you, I should be happy about that.
Yes, yes.
I used to tell
Mr.
my...
Bowe, we have a comment. We have a comment that she wants me to get in. She says that the government is playing monopoly with the land. For years, they have been holding so many crown land. This country is discouraging. And I think she's right towards when you were talking about farming and land and issues. Why would you say that the crown land, that it's not being dispersed how it should be, or do you feel like it is?
It absolutely is not being dispersed as it should be, right? The problem that we have generally is captured in one word: control. Everybody wants to control somebody else. And so we have not yet come to terms with the concept of freedom. That it is not my role, it's not my position to control this other person. I could facilitate them, I could make things easier and better for them. I should not have to fight the same war my parents fought. Give me a different war to fight. Give me different things to accomplish. But we have gone on with this too long. We too easily accept poverty. There are enough resources in this country for nobody to be poor, and the rich would not be affected by it. The rich would get even richer. A good friend of mine, really good friend of mine, said to me, I like it when people have a lot of money because they get to spend more with me. You see? And so it is in everybody's interest for us to do some things about poverty. There should not be anything such as a street pump. That should not be in the Bahamas today. And there's no good reason to have these street faucets.
Mr. Bowe, tomorrow.
Now,
the street
Mr.
pumps.
Bowe, go ahead. Go ahead,
The
Jackie.
street pumps, we have like 3 minutes. The street pumps, I think, can come in handy sometimes because if water and sewage have a problem, if something bursts, or what's the other way?
Those street pumps are supplied from water and sewage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You see, now here's the deal.
Okay, yeah, all right. You're right.
Don't let's. I'm saying all this, but water, it ain't, nothing is free.
Okay.
And water, the whole concept, the whole purpose of running water, you know what it is? Health, public health.
Okay.
See, no organism can live in the midst of its own waste. Every organism, every living organism generates waste, and that waste is poisonous to the organism. So you have to get rid of the waste.
Every house should have running water. That's what you're saying.
Every house should have running water.
Oh.
Every last one. And so in the Bahamas, generally about 35 gallons of water per day per person is required. Up to that point, maybe up to 40 gallons of water per person per day, nobody should have to pay for it. The next level of water usage, you get to that level, you pay for it, and you pay at a rate that would pay for the first set of water. So it ain't free. And then when you get up to levels of commercial use, the price has to go way down again. The price has to go way down because people who using water at those high levels, they have the ability to pass it on to the poor, and we don't want that.
But Mr. Bowe, back to the pumps. At least if water is off in one community, there might be a pump in another community that's on that you can get water. Tamara, I know you got to close it out. Go ahead.
I just have to say, Mr. Bowe, we had one comment. When are we going to get to the point when foreigners are not given more opportunity in our Bahama land? Let me just read this real quick. She said that someone has a proposal for the past 5 years, but each government has now not given the approval to build a harbor, and she feels that foreigners are giving more opportunities than Bahamians. When is that going to stop ringing out within our Bahama land?
Well, that's the problem with divide and conquer. We need foreigners, right? And we need to get more foreigners in here. The problem is, and we have to focus on the problem. The problem is Bahamians are abused in the Bahamas by the Bahamian government. We abuse each other. So let's address the problem, stop abusing one another, and they have this thing in some of the labor law that says equal pay for equal work. We need in the Bahamas equal opportunity at least for Bahamians. I'm of the view that if you're on the home court, you should have home court advantage. That's just my view.
And we totally agree with that here at Table of Change. The hour goes by so quickly, Mr. Bowe. I do know we have so much more to cover because we have so much avenues to come at you with. Being an activist, being an entrepreneur, being such a strong character within our Bahamian society. We know we need to have you back on the show again. We want to thank all of you for listening tonight to Table of Change. We hope you tune in next week for Table of Change at 8 p.m. My name is Tamara Fox-Smith.
I'm Jacqueline Fernanda Moxie. Where did the time go? Table of Change.